Talk to us about the extent of the hole at the moment, the lack of travel, and which countries, which destinations is it hurting the most at the moment?
Well, the lockdown in China is really hurting Europe more so than the US because Chinese are more likely to go visit Europe than they are to come to America. But it certainly is being felt here in the US. And of course, it's being felt in China because they're not getting any inbound visitors either. It's literally a two-way street.
Is there any sense here? I mean, we talk about the idea that Chinese travelers, or really they can't travel, at least not outside of the country in any sort of meaningful way here. Is there any sense here that the tourism industry globally can still thrive, I guess, without what is effectively, the largest population of people out there?
Romain, yes, the travel industry will thrive. It just won't thrive as well as it would with Chinese visitors. Let's remember that you still have Europe reopening, South America, the Middle East, India, the US, Canada, and other countries are open. And there are other parts of Asia that are starting to open. So for example, you're seeing pretty strong bookings between the US and Europe and vice versa for the spring and summer travel season. We're seeing business travel starting to resume. And I do think that one thing China's going to have to take a look at is once they get through the issue with COVID, how long do they want to stay closed to international visitors and restrict travel abroad? They could be losing out.
How much do you think about muscle memory in all of this? If we're thinking about big trips and you think about Asia and China, of course, being within that, and then when that's cut off for 2 or 3 years and you pivot to maybe looking at different destinations, how do you ensure that maybe that isn't structural? Or do you think that the appeal will always be there even if normal travelers are cut off for 2 or 3 years?
I think the appeal will always be there. The muscle memory will snap back. The issue really will be, will travelers feel comfortable visiting China, and will Chinese travelers feel welcome visiting the places they like to go abroad as well? The travel within China has been fairly strong. It may not be quite as strong right now as it would have been, but the government expected domestic travel, to recover to about 85% this year. Not sure if they'll hit that goal. But remember something, we love to travel, and our research shows this is true in China, the research we do in Europe, in the US, and elsewhere. So if you can't travel now, you're going to have that much more pent-up demand to go where you can, when you can.
Is the infrastructure there to flick the switch as and when they can go outside of domestic travel? And also, how is domestic flights impacted by sudden cordoning off of cities and lockdowns?
Well, one thing we saw, for example, with Shanghai, is that the airlines have been adjusting their capacity downward. In 1 week, the airlines lopped off nearly 5,800 flights flying in and out of the 2 Shanghai airports, representing a cut of more than 1.2 million seats. But what goes away can come back. Airlines just have to get those flights rescheduled and the crews in place. So the airline industry is pretty resilient and almost like a rubber band. So once international travel is opened up, the airlines will be able to scale up. It's a matter of a few weeks to get the flights into the reservation systems, crewed, and so on. Yeah. So they could potentially, if they want to reopen for the summer, allow people in and out in time for the peak summer travel season.
Yeah, and I think we have to sort of be mindful that at some point, of course, this crisis, knock on wood, will be over and people will be able to sort of move about freely. I am curious, though, Henry, about some of the other disruptions that we've been seeing in travel, not just COVID related, but of course now, you have kind of the stemming of travel with regards to Russians being able to travel freely amongst some countries, as well as other areas of the world that have been affected by the fallout from some of the geopolitical issues here. How is that factored into your travel forecast right now?
Well, certainly, again, the impact of the sanctions on Russia are affecting Russia international travel. Now, Aeroflot said that they're going to try to resume international service to a handful of what Russia calls friendly countries. But these are going to be small markets for the airline and for Russians. And of course, there'll be challenges. Will they be able to pay? Will they be able to exchange their rubles for whatever currency they need to, since they can't use credit cards, or at least Western-based credit cards? Russia is the 12th largest market, and you notice it when it's gone. Russia has less of an impact on the US than it does for travel to Europe and other regions that are closer to the country. But we'll feel it. It's 200,000 fewer Russian visitors that we'll get during the course of this year. And that's lost revenue, tax revenue, everything. It's not good.